My name is Tess Vistro. I'm from the Philippines. I'm part of an organization called Asia Pacific Forum on Women, Law and Development, which is a regional organization of feminist women. Back in the Philippines, I'm a member of a women peasant organization, and I'm also a part of a research institutions for the rural sector called Philippine Development Initiatives and Assistance for the Rural Sectors. We are a part of Gabriela, which is the leading women's movement of women in the Philippines, and a newly established movement of victims of climate change, which is called the People Surge. Locally, we're doing a lot of advocacy work from the local government units until up to the national governments, and even with our lawmaking bodies, the Congress and Senate. So we bring the issues of the people in the rural areas, like the slow support from the government when all these devastations are happening. And even up to now, with the biggest typhoon that has hit the Philippines, the people are still living in bunks. There's still not no significant rehabilitation that has been done by the government. So it's still a big problem, and we continue to bring these issues to the national government. We do rallies. We bring these people in the national capital region. We bring these people in the footsteps of Malacanang, just to demand that we want a clear rehabilitation plan now. Because every year we're getting all these typhoons. We're getting at least 20 typhoons every year, and at least 9 to 10 make a landfall. And if it makes a landfall, it could be very devastating. Only last September, another region was again devastated by a huge typhoon, and the whole agricultural area, rice plants which are supposed to be harvested in so many weeks, were all down, were all destroyed. So you can see the impacts of climate change on the livelihood of rural people. So when all these are washed out in floods and in rains, all the investments of the farmers are gone as well. And the thing is, they're not having their own capital. They usually borrow the capital. So what happens is, when they are not able to harvest, they have to go and borrow again. But then the other credits that they get for the capital remains as a credit. So it piles up until in the end, they have to give up their lands just to be able to pay for the debts that were incurred because of all this capital. That policy of export labor, we are criticizing that. What we want is that jobs should be created within the country. That's what we want. But the government, because of its inability to provide jobs to its local people, encourages or promotes the migration of women to other countries to perform menial jobs like domestic helpers, and they are very open to abuses, especially if they live within households and all that. So we have a network who is they're not only being abused or being violated. We get a lot of debts. So in many of our actions also, we receive the women who get killed from other countries. So but the government is not paying attention so much on the plight of the women. They would say, "Oh, we're okay because we're providing you with jobs." But then, at what expense? With so many women abused, raped, and women separated from their families, and families and their children, based on studies, they're creating a lot of troubles also because of their separation from their parents, and men taking on other wives because of the absence of their wives, and all these things. It's an entire culture that is being changed At the same time, the culture of consumerism is transferred back to the Philippines because the culture in the Philippines is when you go abroad, you have money. Even if you're just an ordinary domestic worker and you really have to work like 20 hours a day just to be able to get that money to send to your children, to your husband, but then your husband will spend the money to drinking and all other women. So it's a whole family system that's being destroyed by all this migration labor policy, and the government is not doing anything about this things, this problem, this social problem that's being created by the migration. We're now sending like 5,000 a day as OFW, we say, overseas Filipino workers. See how many we are sending out just to, because the government, it's also a political, for political reasons, because you can imagine a society where millions do not have jobs. That's a recipe for, for unrest and for, a lot of protest inside the country. So it's a way also of for the government to ease up the increasing tension inside the country brought about because of this unemployment and their landlessness and no jobs within the country. Include gender equality and human rights in the text is very fundamental. Adaptation and mitigation text should be gender responsive. The principle of common but differentiated responsibilities must also be enshrined in all the texts, meaning the developed countries should recognize, should respect, should implement their historical responsibility to be at the forefront of addressing this climate crisis, because they were the ones who created it in the first place. Since industrial revolution, they were the ones who were, emitting all this carbon in the atmosphere, and that's the primary cause of the climate crisis that we are facing right now. I'm saying that one of the primary reasons, or one of the big reason why there is hope that we will be able to hurdle this climate crisis that we are going through right now is because of the actions of women and local communities. I put a lot of premium on what the women are doing worldwide, and also the adaptation initiatives of local communities to address climate change. I think those are very important. Even though at this time the governments are not paying attention so much, but we're doing a lot at the grassroots level, at the ground level, and I think this is the big hope that we will have. The Paris Treaty will be signed. We don't know if it's going to be a good deal or a bad deal, but the work of the people at the grassroots in the communities will continue, and for me, that's a big source of hope that we will be able to overcome this climate crisis.